pray with me. God, may the words of my mouth and the meditation in each heart be acceptable in your sight, for you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. I want to start off with just asking you straight up if you believe this, okay? Do you believe we are created in the image of God? Yes. You don't have to answer out loud, but thank you for those who did. Now, we know it's not the physical image, but it's the spiritual, the wisdom image, if you would say that. So, if we can kind of agree that every single person on the face of the earth who has lived, is living, or will live, is created in the image of God, that's where I want to begin today. Now, when we had our Bible study this week, I made a point to say something to the effect of, Jezebel gets a bad rap for who she is and what she's done. And everybody said, well, look what she did. They started reading stuff to me and going to little commentaries and looking in the Life Application Bibles and saying, but she did this and this and this. I go, whoa, whoa, whoa. This is one thing we have to be very aware of, especially today. People become passionate about their beliefs. People do. They become passionate about their beliefs. And their beliefs might not be our beliefs. And let me tell you right up front, Jezebel's beliefs were not those of the Jews. She was never Jewish. She was always a worshiper of Baal. Ahab, who was Jewish, who was a king of Israel, fell in love with her and married her and began to worship her God instead of the God of Israel. Okay? She had not changed one bit. She still worshiped the same God she always worshiped. She was just as passionate about her belief as she always had been. And in fact, she took it upon herself to try to have everyone in Israel worship Baal. Now, when I think about that, I go, well, wait a minute. Don't you become passionate about stuff? Don't you get to the point you want everyone to believe what you believe and do what you do and follow the kind of line you have set for your life? Yes. And her exposure to the God of Israel was limited because by that time some things had happened to the Jews. First of all, the whole kingdom had been divided into two parts. So now we're only talking about the northern kingdom, Israel. And quite frankly, there was a lot of corruption in the rulers. And so Ahab wasn't even the best king by any means, and he wasn't a very good king, and he was who he was. And so he found Jezebel, he married her, and so she kind of go, well, whatever. You ever done that? Look at someone, you see what they're doing, and they say, come on, join me. Oh, well, whatever. It's the hardest thing in the world to stand up for what you believe. It really is. And so here we have Ahab, weak that he is, and all of a sudden it's not a big stretch to see him saying, okay, whatever you want, Jezebel. Now, I have to say we did a little laughing in the pod group this week about Ahab. But I want you to just think for a minute. Do you know anyone? Or are you someone who doesn't get their way and pouts? Who, and he was, oh wait, do not be pointing at other people. Okay, Melissa is that way. She admitted it. You probably have company here, but so you don't get your way and you kind of just pout. And she was probably used to this. And I say that because of the way she went in. What is your problem today? Okay. And he goes, pouty, pouty, I can't get the garden I want, pouty, pouty. So she says, I'll take care of it. Now, I know there are people sitting right here who have said the same thing to their significant other, their partner, their parent, or their child. Who didn't get their way, didn't get what they wanted, and you say, I'll take care of it. Now, I'm not even questioning what you take care of and how you do it. But I want you to kind of be at a place that you kind of maybe understand a little bit about what Jezebel was doing. I wanted to start off talking about that because today I want us to think about what it means to be created in the image of God. How do you feel? You're created in the image of God. Make you feel good? Make you a little worried? Make you a little apprehensive? A little frightened? You see, to be created in the image of God, and please hear this, does not mean we are living in the image of God. You see, we're created in the image of God, and we spend the rest of our lives on this earth growing toward that image. So none of us are bone. You're the image of God. You're going to reflect God in everything you do. You're going to be the perfect person. No, it doesn't happen. Just know that. We're created in the image of God, and we spend the rest of our lives growing into that image. And we have only to look around to realize some people have more to grow than others. Yeah. And again, we're being kind of judgmental. Just let's admit it. Our image of God may not be somebody else's image of God. There might still be passionate people. In fact, there are lots of passionate people all over the world who passionately believe in what they believe, in the God that they see and worship. Maybe even in gods we don't even know anything about. And what we need to remember is the image of God is as diverse as this planet is diverse. And how people approach their image of God, how they live toward and grow toward their image of God is different from ours. But bottom line has a lot to do with what we reflect to the world as God. Now, lots of people have the opportunity in our beautiful nation to go to church, to worship the way they want to worship, to sing the songs they're familiar with, whatever it might be. But every single one of us kind of has a job. And it's a pretty easy job, quite frankly. Our job is to be a mirror. Okay? How many of you have a mirror at home? Big, small, whatever. What does that mirror do for you? No. Hopefully it doesn't break. That's a good thing. And it's there when you need it. See, being a mirror is really easy. All you got to do is reflect. And if we're the mirror of the image of God, all we have to do is reflect. Now let me tell you this. Or let me ask you this. When you're not looking so good, maybe first thing in the morning, maybe when you come in late at night, does the mirror cut you any slack and show you a better image? No. In fact, sometimes it's easier not to look in the mirror in certain times. Forget all that. You see, the mirror doesn't cut any slack because it just reflects. And we, our lives, we're not cut any slack either. Because no matter what we're doing, we're reflecting our image of God. You need to stop and think about that a minute. You're reflecting your image of God. So if your image of God somehow says, everything's okay, I'm not getting in the middle of anything, my image of God says, don't interfere. My image of God says, let everybody alone. Let everybody live their life exactly the way they're supposed to. That's exactly what you reflect. And if your image of God is one that says, no matter what, I'm going to fight for justice in this world. So you're the kind of person who maybe stands up and speaks out, maybe goes to some of the protests, has been in some of the parades, because your image of God says there needs to be justice in the world. Your image of God says there are certain people on this planet who don't deserve to live, and you decide to do something about that. Remember, and that's why I said we had to pray for the shooter this morning. I don't know anything about him, not yet anyway. We haven't heard anything. But I know from previous experience when we've had mass shootings, those people are reflecting the God they believe in. And you may say, oh, they could be atheists. They could be agnostics. Yes. And they're reflecting the God they believe in. Whether they are an atheist or an agnostic, they're reflecting their image of God, and if it's nothing, it's nothing. You see, this is what it's about, my friends. It's about us making judgments on somebody else because their image of God doesn't match ours. I really believe with my whole heart that if everyone on the planet reflected their image of God, we'd be number one better off. Now, that's what I believe. And I hope that we'd be in a place where maybe we could talk more openly about the differences in our images of God. And we could not be so closed up that we say, well, Christians are the only people who have an end to God. Or Jews, who had a lot longer than us, Jews are the only people who have an end with God. Or, go further back than the Jews, go to the original human beings that are living all over the planet that worship some creator or deity of their understanding. And what has happened to their image? And today, native peoples all over the world still hold on to those traditions and beliefs, and that's their image of God. See, sometimes we get hung up, at least from my point of view, we get hung up in the image of God that we were introduced to as young people. And I am very happy to tell you that my image of God has changed. Now, do I believe God has changed? Absolutely not. God is still God. But I am understanding God more and more as I grow into this image into which I was created. And I think we have to kind of be willing to let go of what we were taught when we were 12 and be willing to look around and say, yeah, but you know, God is now revealing to me a difference in the world. God is now revealing to me places I need to speak out that I never thought I had to speak out before. And so this is the way we, as human beings, grow into our image of God. It's not enough just to be created in God's image. We have to constantly be aware of how the world needs to see God and how we need to be that mirror to reflect. So often people who are persecuted for one reason or another reflect that hatred and that anger and that non-acceptance of anybody else in the world who would persecute them. Well, you know what? I want you to remember Jezebel. For some reason, as I was reading all this and preparing for today, thinking, she gets such a bad rap. It's like she made Ahab do any of that? Don't think that for a minute. Don't think that for a minute. Did she enable him a little by doing stuff for him? Yeah, we enable people all the time, don't we? Yet, Jezebel, passionate about her belief, did what she thought reflected her image of God. Of course, she worshipped a God who accepted human sacrifice. Killing was not a bad thing in her religion. So to do what she did was not unacceptable at all. But it should have been unacceptable to Ahab. It should have been unacceptable to Ahab. He was raised to follow the God of Israel, and he did not. And so when God sent Elijah to speak to him, it was about, you know what you've done. You've broken 2 commandments. You've killed and you've stolen. And you know you weren't supposed to. I cannot help but believe that we are going to be held accountable for the things we know we should have done and didn't. Now, it's one thing to go, oh, I didn't know that, or I would have done something. That's okay. I don't think God really minds if we don't know everything going on all around us. But God does mind when we do know something's going on and we don't do anything about God minds if we do not reflect the image that says, if you hear somebody putting somebody down, you need to speak up and say something about it. God minds when we see injustice in whatever form. And we know it's not right. We know it's not right because our image of God tells us it's not right. And we do nothing about it. This morning as we were coming to church, I have to tell you it was an exciting moment for me. And I want to let you know about it because there are so many things that are kind of not that big a deal, but to me it's like the most exciting thing of the day. Coming to church and being able to go on the newly opened 9B. 9B is now open, gets us here 15 minutes faster. Now, that is not untrue. So we go on 9B, which takes you all the way to 90, 95 now, and I thought, and it was so quiet. And it was so beautiful. Driving and seeing the sky, not having a bunch of cars to deal with or traffic signals, and whizzing around and heading down 95, and I thought, this is my gift this morning. Just me. Not meant for anybody else, because I'm the one who was excited about it. I'm the one who was just praising God the whole way, saying, look at this. Look at this beauty. I've never seen some of that before. Because, you know, it was all woods back there, and you couldn't see. And I said, look at that. I was just so excited. In the midst of that, I thought, this is the way we should feel about God every minute of every day. It shouldn't take something exciting or different. A beautiful sunset, which I know for me just brings up the image. The wedding I did yesterday morning on the beach, it could not have been more beautiful. It can't be just about that. We have to feel excited every time we see another human being. Because each of us is created in the image of God. And we should see God in every single person we meet. And we will if we look. Sometimes it's not on the surface. Sometimes it's deep in somebody's heart. And sometimes, please remember, it's not your image of God that you see in them. It's their image of God. We have a lot of responsibilities in our lives, lots of stuff going on. Oh my goodness. It's busy, busy, busy. But if you just are reminded, and I'm saying this because chances are most of us see another human being sometime during the day. Okay? And I'm even going to expand that to say if you see a creature of God. Because I believe, this is me, can't support it biblically, I believe every creature on this earth carries the image of God in some way, shape, or form. Right. And so every time you see a person, every time you see an animal, I want you to think the image of God is right there in front of you. And just maybe it'll make us more aware of what we need to do to grow into the image of God that we claim in our lives. We can't let things go anymore, my friends. We can't say, oh, I'm going to stay out of that. I don't like the controversy. I don't want to make anybody upset. Time is done for that. If anything's going to change in this country and in this world, we need to speak up and speak out. We can't wait any longer. And maybe it's just to one other person. Fine. That's fine. Maybe it's writing a letter to the editor. Yes, they still do that. Mostly it's email now. So maybe it's responding to something you see on Facebook. The time has come for us to allow the image of our God to shine through us. So today I'm asking you to polish your mirrors. Allow them to truly reflect the God you want people to see in you. And to be empowered by God to do so. Let's pray. God, I just thank you. I thank you that each and every one has been created in your own image. And now I ask you, God, to just let us grow into it. Let us be more faithful reflections of the God we know, the God we love, the God that talks to us about unconditional love for everyone. Let us be your mirror, God. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen.